Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Maths for Girls at 4 p.m. And we have some lovely speakers here to talk to you today in this session, which we've called Maths to Persuade. Here at Maths for Girls, we really want to inspire and encourage young people to think about how important maths could be in their future career and give you some examples of jobs which you too could be doing once you leave school. Today, you're going to be hearing from our really inspiring role models, Itxaso and Dite, who have really impressive and unique careers which use maths to persuade or convince people and companies in different ways, or use maths to help them make decisions themselves. So to anyone watching at home, please make sure your audio and video is turned off throughout, but you'll be able to pop questions in the chat function. We are recording the session today and it's going to be featured on our YouTube and our social media channels. So sit back and enjoy the presentations, and please do make some notes and ask all of your burning questions. I just want to say thank you so much for our speakers for joining us today and giving up their time. We're really looking forward to hear from each of you. I'm first going to go and hand over to Itxaso, who is a partner in a venture capital firm, Notion. She's going to talk to you about what that means and also how she uses maths in her job to persuade others. So I'll hand over to you, Itxaso. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel, for inviting me to participate. It's super exciting to be here. Probably you've noticed already from my accent that I'm Spanish.
We've just lost you, Itxaso, for a minute there.
Oh, okay.
So we heard that you were from, I think you were going to say you were from Spain, Itxaso.
Yes, correct. That I am from Spain, and I'm basically, I grew up there. Went to school there and the university too until I went out of Spain and just went to study to the US and then to live in London. And currently I'm a venture capitalist in a venture capital firm called Notion Capital. So and you will wonder, what is a venture capitalist?
Oh dear, we're having some technical issues with the Itxaso's link today.
Saying that I am a venture capitalist. I'm a venture capitalist, and as a venture capitalist, what we do is that we invest in technology companies. So those technology companies are companies, for example, that you might know, like Facebook or Google or TikTok. Those are companies that use mainly technology for distribution, right? But there might be other technology companies that are developing the next generation of life sciences for medical devices, for example, right? All of those are the ones that we invest in. So personally, I always invest in digital companies, in software, but there are other venture capitalists who invest in other sort of technologies. And on my day-to-day basis, what do? I meet founders, people who are starting those companies. Imagine that the founder of Facebook or of TikTok is coming to me and they need money to build their businesses, to build applications and to commercialize them. So I make an evaluation, I play with the tools, and I identify whether those could be something that could be used by everyone and we would like them, right? Because how many applications do we know that we really don't like them? And so I don't want to put money into those, right? As an investor, I want to put money in the ones that I think they will become big businesses in the future. So I look at the technology part of it. How do they work? How easy it is to create new experiences from the users. I also look at the founders and look at their backgrounds and see whether the founders have a strong enough background to build a big business, right? I look at the market and identify how many people do you think would pay for this in the future? Would they pay for it? Would they expect this to be free? So I can evaluate more or less how big is that market, right? And ultimately, I want to evaluate what is the return on investment. So if I put money today in this business, which has 5 employees, would this business become a 100 people business, a global business? Or will this business be a 10, 15, 20 people business. So I need to evaluate how big would that be so I can see how much money can I make out of that investment. Okay, so that's what I do in my day-to-day basis. It is super fun, super fun. Entrepreneurs are very exciting. They have great ideas. I get to play with many of those applications, and it is very, very fun. And you will wonder yourself, so what did you study to do that? How did you even know venture capital was an industry where you could go, right? So I studied engineering. I love science, I love maths, and I went to study engineering, but it was in fact chemical engineering, but it still gave me the understanding on how to solve problems. At the end of the day, is getting that basic understanding on how to solve problems, use numbers to solve those problems. It's not necessarily that it was specific for chemistry at that time. I used it in many different areas, right? And after that, this is not necessary, but I did a PhD too. I did a PhD, and that PhD, I got much more in the venture building and entrepreneurial sciences, where I am working right now. So on my professional career, prior to doing this, I worked for other technology companies instead of doing investments, working much more. I worked at Microsoft before, where I worked with other technologies like HoloLens, like Paint 3D, and other many more technologies that would use data. And maths obviously helped me on my day-to-day business a lot. Not only for evaluating businesses, because I look at the business and I need to calculate, okay, how many people are in the UK between 18 and 25 years old who like to go to yoga, have a dog, and they will spend around £50 for buying this online. And in fact, they will spend £50 every month to buy this online. How many of these people? And I need to multiply those. So those are simple math. But unless I have an understanding of those numbers and I get to learn where to find them online, I do a little bit of research, I talk to people, I look at how many yoga studios are out there, how many people with dogs are in the UK too. And so I basically start matching all these numbers, and that helps me on my day-to-day business, right? But it also helps me in things like, hey, with my friends, I want to organize a party. This is my birthday. We are 21 people, and I want to rent a space, and the space is charging me £500 for bringing 30 people. So how much am I paying per head? So when I'm in front of that, the lady of the restaurant, I'm thinking, I don't want to pay that much per head. What about if I paid, instead of £25 per person, I paid £20? How much is that? And I go back to the restaurant and I said, hey, you know what, instead of 500, I think with 300, I will be happy to do it, but not for 500. So allows me in my day-to-day life to negotiate those points, because I get an understanding if I want to pay £30 for a dinner of a friend in my birthday, or if I want to pay 20, in fact, right? And so all of those things is what I do with maths, and I think it helps me in many, many, many different areas. But we can talk a little bit later, a little bit more, and I will let maybe Dee introduce herself, right?
Thank you, Tessa. Yeah, my name is Dite. I'm also from South Africa, but I live in London at the moment. I've been living here for about 3 years now. I came to London to work as an internal auditor for a company called Chubb Insurance. So it's an insurance company. A lot of people associate the name Chubb with the security company, but it is an insurance company. And as an internal auditor, I speak with different businesses internally within our company and help them improve their processes, help them improve operations. And a lot of that has to do with data. The kind of data that we have within our company. And in order for us to help them improve their processes, we look at information that they have, and with that, we persuade them to improve their processes using simple mathematics that, finding the averages or finding the modes where there's increased production, low production, and that sort of thing. And I know most schools are teaching that right now. It's simple maths, multiplication, adding. And I think what I find exciting about my role at the moment is that I don't get to just talk to one business all the time. I talk to various businesses or stakeholders within our company, and yeah, and just get to learn everything that they do on a daily basis. So there's a lot of maths that I use to persuade them, to help them understand what it is that they're doing right or doing wrong as an internal auditor.
I think it sounds like I need both of you to help me. It sounds like you're very good, persuasive women. And I should invite you to organise my next party, definitely, Itxaso. Yeah.
Definitely.
So, I mean, Dee, do you want to maybe talk us through kind of where your kind of career journey started, maybe back in South Africa, maybe your thoughts when you were at school and what you studied and enjoyed?
Yeah, the thing is, I always say, I've got 2 children myself, is that, you know, as long as you've got drive and an understanding of where you want to be, you can do anything. You can do anything that you want to do. So I started off in the arts. Didn't think one day I'll end up as an internal auditor, but I did do mathematics and I did do accounting in my high school when I completed my high school. But when I went to varsity, I ended up I had a Bachelor of Arts in psychology. And then I continued to do that. I thought, okay, maybe I'll end up in clinical psychology. But then it became too tough to handle people's problems. And so I decided to go into insurance. It was an opportunity that offered a wide spectrum of things. And at the time, I thought I would go into HR. But when I landed elsewhere in the business, I ended up in underwriting by choice. And that's where my understanding of, you know, the business itself and how we use data, because in underwriting, which is primarily the business of insurance, we look at a person's information, I think close to what Itxaso does, to understand where they're spending their money, what assets do they want to protect, and taking all that data and then giving them a premium. So you would understand that the money that we charge you would have had to have some calculations in there, and it's simple mathematics. So just having an understanding of just taking your mathematics to high school level or just beyond high school level, you could definitely be in any area that you want. And then I was in underwriting, and after understanding the business in underwriting, I then decided to move more into our operations role, which is the internal audit piece. And still I continue to work with our business to improve processes through using data and understanding risk using the data.
Oh, that sounds really interesting, and it's so interesting to see both of you have come from other countries and experienced different things, and you must bring some really great experiences to your teams. I'm wondering if when you have perhaps a very difficult maths challenge, how you go about solving those in your kind of day-to-day life. What kind of tools do you have to help solve those problems? Maybe Itxaso, you want to go first?
Yeah, for sure. So there in maths, usually the things that we use are pretty basic. It's not that we are using very complicated formulas at the end of the day. It's more of understanding how to use the basic things of maths and break down the problem into specific steps to solve that problem. And so I think when you are at the school, that is where they train you to do. You see a problem and you can break it down in different areas, but at the end of the day, the maths that you are going to be using, are probably pretty simple, right? And so that's what I do. I usually try to break it down into smaller pieces and try to use simple math and proxies, approximations, so that I can get to solve the problem ultimately.
What about you, Dee? How would you go about things? Are you finding something very similar to Itxaso?
I think for me, support is very important, the type of team you work with, because not all the time will you be able to solve the challenge yourself, but collaborating with the team and understanding, because everybody brings different skills and understanding to a problem. Yeah, that's generally how we would approach things, working within a team, collaborating, having a desire to continuously want to learn, right? And I think that's the thing, especially when you're in high school, about wanting to take mathematics forward, is you have to have that desire to want to continuously want to learn. And once you have the support, you don't feel like you need to know everything. You just need to have the support around you, ask questions, and want to learn. Yeah.
I think that's really key. I think young people who are maybe doing their sort of math studies at school or GCSEs, there's a lot of soul working on problems, isn't there? But in, the real world, in work, you are working as a team and you've always got support to solve something. I think that's really good for them to hear, and hear that it's something that they can do.
Yeah,
definitely.
Absolutely. Even in your studies, reach out to your teachers. I mean, there's things where I still YouTube to remind myself, YouTube is a great tool when you're studying very in a silo. Ask your teachers, reach out for support. Nothing's ever too difficult to reach out for support and learn. Yeah.
That's lovely. I guess we are Maths for Girls, and it'd be really good to hear from you maybe what your experience is in the workplace of any sort of gender balance that you've noticed, or any really good things that you've noticed working as a female with maths.
So I can go with that one. I think still the maths and the science industry, it's a little bit dominated by male, but I think it is changing very quickly. And male in this industry are very much looking forward to work with women, because in fact, guess what? It's much more fun, right? It would be much more boring just to be only male. So they like to have women around, and I think personally I feel empowered, and I think nobody should feel that they are not in the right place. The opposite, they should feel they've made it work. I feel proud of myself. I made it here. And it is fantastic to work with this team, and as Dee was saying, tapping into them and in fact realizing that you are many times the smartest one in the room, which is fantastic and phenomenal. Makes me feel really good. So I think everyone can make that happen for sure.
What about you, Dee? What are your experiences in your workplace?
I mean, if you take myself and Itxaso's sort of career journey, where she started off in civil engineering, not civil engineering, but rather chemical engineering, and sort of changed her career spectrum along the way. It's a lesson in that, right? That you can be whatever it is that you want to be. And I think maths and science is more the STEM sort of career opportunities are open for females nowadays, because I think there was that stigma that maths is a bit difficult. Maths is maths is difficult, and a lot of women express that. But with the support, I think we need to encourage people that you don't have to struggle alone. You don't have to be in a silo and feel like this is too challenging for you. So I do see a lot of women in audit. I do see a lot of women taking STEM subjects, particularly in my home country, and even here, there's a lot of encouragement for women to take up those subjects. But what you can do with it is limitless. It's you can go anywhere with it, right? So yeah, I think there's a lot more breakthrough where we see women feeling more acceptable, like they belong, right? Just as you mentioned, you must feel like you belong, and you must feel like you are in the right place. Don't ever feel intimidated by anybody in the room. Yeah.
It's very inspiring, Dee. I think it is really important, isn't it, that maths is for everyone. Maths is for anybody.
Yeah.
And what is hard, I guess, is subjective to every different person. Somebody might struggle with something else at school but find maths easy. We all have different skills, and we can all work on them as well. Yeah. Do you have any tips for kind of working on maths for these guys who might be listening from school, how they can kind of improve? What kind of advice you would give them, maybe that was given to you?
I would probably say that having mentors is probably the best thing you can do. Finding someone that you can ask questions. Teachers are always willing to help. They are so helpful. They love that you want to learn and you want to spend time with them. So use them. Go to them and use them for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, there's no better way to top that off, right? Support, ask questions, be engaged, to want to learn. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, I think both of you have done a very good job at persuading me. I should have done maths. I should have done it. So thank you so much. You've persuaded me, and I'm sure you've persuaded some of the other people listening to this today. I want to thank everyone for watching, and there have been some great sort of answers to questions that we've had today. Please look out for all of the recordings of our Maths for Girls webinars on our YouTube channel, and check out our upcoming dates for other events like this, the Maths for Girls at 4 p.m. webinars. Hopefully people listening have been really inspired to invite role models into their school to talk about maths, and also to support us in this fabulous project. So thank you very much to Itxaso and Dee, and thank you very much for all of you listening as well. Thank you.
Thank you.